And good morning to you on this Thursday, March the 19th, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope you have had a wonderful night, whether it was of work, sleep, up, doing whatever. We hope you feel good today. I was didn't feel too good last night, a little tired. We didn't broadcast last night, took a night off. We did yesterday morning, although we were busy on the podcast. But today is a different story. Will be multiple shows that we have. We have tonight. It is Biscuit Boy will be in the house, and we're going to do some things this evening. He may pop in this morning as well if he got up. We don't know if he got up, but maybe he did. But it is good to be here with you. We appreciate you very much for your support. I was up posting early. I've already been called a bad name this morning online. Just for making a comment about John Fetterman. These people are so ready to jump. And get you some of that. Have a great day. It just cracks me up, really. It's like the keyboard warriors. You just make a comment. It wasn't even controversial, really, about Fetterman. I mean, he's ticked off the Democrats again. He's ticked off Republicans. That's what I said. He loves the spotlight. He's right in the middle. His vote has become very important to lots of people, and independent is about the best that anybody can hope. But Democrats are like, yeah, we want him gone, and then Republicans, But anyway, let's see, what was I was told to keep drinking the Kool-Aid and called him maggot. It's still America. I still make a comment. Doesn't stop me. But it was it was quite funny. I was like, really? Have a great day. They probably didn't like the name, the Southern Patriots Podcast. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't like me. You can't please everybody, though. That's for sure. You cannot please everybody. All you can do is just be you and don't worry about it, because that's just the way it goes. Well, let's look at our Bible verse this morning. I always like to kick that off pretty quickly. Definitely need that. 1 second. It'll be coming your way. I like to put that on screen. Nice picture here of the family. And there we go. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Amen. Ephesians 6:4. What a great chapter Ephesians chapter 6 is. Which sometimes that last verse or two gets cut off. They kind of end it there with the whole armor, but it's an important one to remember. But you fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Yeah. I think today, I could be wrong. Maybe it's always been that way, but I don't think so. I have seen more people that have relational problems with their children or with their parents. It's not just, I'm not poking at children or young people. It's both ways. I mean, I've had people tell me like, I can't talk to my parent, or I can't talk to my son, or, we don't talk, or it's not good, or whatever it is. I mean, it's just amazing how often that's mentioned nowadays. And listen, I know we don't always agree. Kids are never going to always agree with you. Every generation is on, they got to choose your own path. I don't mean it even by generation. It's just every person takes their own path, and they may be close. It may be very minuscule differences, so small you might not even see it, or, fairly big ones, But, they have to find their own path, and we're here for guidance. We've taught them all that we want to share with them, and we're going to pray for them and always be there. But, sometimes it's radically different. I mean, it's way different to the point that it's confrontational. They don't even go see each other. They don't have anything to do with each other. That's sad. If there's one thing I always knew I could do, it was go see my mom or dad. And my mom and dad divorced, but I could always go see mom and dad. Was always happy to see me, excited to see me, listen to me, and, gave their advice, cared about me, loved me, and all those things. I just can't imagine that not being a thing because that was all I was ever surrounded by. We had our differences, sure. Me and my dad, we had, divorces are tough, and we stayed with mom, and but we just that's just head banging. Sometimes dads and sons do that. Sometimes mothers and daughters. Sometimes the other way as well. But it was always always. I never felt like they don't love me. You know they don't want to see me. Or I never thought that. You know. But I've heard people say, oh, I hadn't talked to my kid in years, or we don't talk. It doesn't go well, or family get-togethers are out. You know, and then there's kids that withhold the grandkids from the grandparents. It's like, wow, you know, I don't know. It's really strange. And I'm not saying that. I do believe that because we were people of faith that helped. Although there were times we didn't go, I think that certainly helped. The family, the nuclear family, but that's not always. I mean, there's a lot of people are close. They might even have a faith, but they're close because that's family. I can't imagine not being, having that kind of relationship. Now I get it. Sometimes kids were born to parents that had the parents had a rough time. They had a rough time. Their parents had a rough time. There was a lot of maybe domestic stuff, and maybe they just never learned how to be a parent. I get that, but still, you parent. Still someone that you should love and support. May not like the way they act, but you still support them. You know, I don't know. It's. I just think that it's something that jumps out at me that more and more we see breakdowns in the home. We see breakdowns in relationships, and communication lines are cut off. And it's very important to have those lines of communication with your loved ones. Um, Strange. I just don't understand that. I remember, even my mom was in, last few years was in a nursing home, and her health wasn't great, but she was okay, comfortable, and I just go sit, and sometimes it was just her listening to me. She's a great listener. She taught me to be a great listener, and to get advice. Even if I kind of already had my mind set on which direction I was going, I wanted to bounce things off my parents. Especially, I mean, my dad, yeah, but anyways, but my mom a lot. I'd bounce things off of her. They're just things that Mom, what do you think here? I value that wisdom. They've lived longer. They have went through more things. They have done marriage a lot longer, or and then didn't have marriage. So whenever it was relational stuff that I was dealing with, spouse, children, whatever, just this what do just kind of bounce, be a sounding board. And I always find great value in that. And I always felt better about it, even if I walked away with no answers. It just sounded better to have. I mean, it felt better to have my parents listen to me, and I can't imagine not having that. I can imagine not going, being able to go to your parent and have a logical, back and forth discussion about situations, life, whatever, and being able to get some sort of wisdom. I just it was so far removed from me because I did have that. I do understand that there are those out there. I'm not saying they're not. I see it, but it's so foreign to me because I never experienced that. Even when my dad disagreed, and sometimes a great bit, it was always a mutual respect. It's my dad. It was always his son, and my dad was one of them. He liked to tell son what you need to do. It was kind of like that, and so I would listen for. I think in any conversation or any wisdom that you get things that you can grab hold of, and you got other things you're like, okay, that's really not going to help me, but these two things over here are. So you're already benefited, at least if you got one thing that would be a benefit, or something would help you clarify your position from your dad or your mom or grandfather or grandmother, whatever. And you can filter all that. They may not see it the way you do, but you can filter it. You can filter, okay, what is valuable here? What can I take away? What can I use? And what is maybe not? I'm still listening to them, I'm still respecting them, but don't have to argue over it. But in my filter, I'm not going to use that. But these other things you gave me, I can use those. And you miss that when they're gone. Well, both my parents are deceased, and you miss that, and I miss that. Um, Spartan says the great your favorite line from Game of Thrones: "The gods have no mercy. That's why they are God." Well, I'm glad I serve a God of mercy. I never watched. I know I'm a nut because I know a lot of people did. I never watched it. I saw. I think I saw a clip or two in videos that people posted. I never. I never ever. Um, I never saw it. You know. But yeah, um, I remember back. Let's see. I'm trying to think of things that were very popular that I never watched. That a lot of people did. And I'd go to work, and all these people would be talking about. Did you see? They'd be talking about this episode, and I'm like the rock on the wall. I have no comment because I didn't see it. I remember way back in the was it 80s, 90s. I guess that would have been 90s. That was 90s or 2000s. So I'm trying to think. It wasn't 80s because that was at my latest job. I've been out 35 years, but Sex in the City was one. I never watched one episode of that show, not one. And I'm not. It's not a judgment. I've just never watched it. Never cared for it. But I worked for some people. They wanted to discuss it every time we had a meeting, especially if they hadn't seen each other. So I just sit back and listen. That was their thing. Game of Thrones was one. I never saw it. What's the other one? There's a couple others that was very popular the last few years. Um, Jake and Higer, how you say it? If you ever watch that show, imagine that guy is me. Okay. All right. It's not that I'm against watching that. I mean, I kind of like that type of thing, I guess, but I really don't. I'm an old soul, and I don't watch a lot of newer things except news and documentaries, maybe. But I do watch a lot of old stuff, westerns and old shows and stuff. I'm an old soul that way. Stuff that I grew up with. I don't watch game shows really, or there's if there are things I've watched because I thought that'd be good, and I've watched. I've even went to movies and saw stuff, but not all the time. It's kind of a rarity. Uh, Quick announcement: next week, week from today, just verified today, Miss Annie Cyrus will be with us on the program from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She has an amazing story coming from Iran. She'll touch on her story, I'm sure. Talk about the war today and the Iranian people and her work. And she has a new book that's coming out Saturday. I'm going to order that book today and get a signed copy. But Annie Cyrus, if you don't know her, you can easily look her up and give her a follow. She's usually on. She's a Christian now. Spartan says Sex in the City was horrible. Yeah, and I just never cared for it. The two white girls are excellent. So keep around with the Jewish girls good and gets married. So I never watched it. I just never watched it. There's our website if you'd like to visit, southernfriedcornbreadnation.com. I need to advertise it more. In elementary school, Watchman says, I walked in and all day people were shouting, I want a trash bag. I was like, what's going on? It was a line from A Team. And I obviously did see them out, but did see them out for. It's weird when you have that happen and like a lot of people have watched the same thing. And when I was a kid, a lot of things wouldn't have been on TV. And like they are today, there's things I don't allow on my TV in the home. There's, my granddaughter knows the ground rules. And I just, I would just sit and listen. And then when somebody would ask me something about a show or a movie or something I didn't watch, they'd be like, what's wrong with you? Truthfully, though, the biggest thing, without a doubt, that kids asked me about was the rock group Kiss when I was in school, because the Kiss merchandise was everywhere. And people would say, I didn't even know who they were. I'd see the shirts. I think that looks interesting or cool. I had no idea who Kiss was. I wasn't allowed to listen to that. We listened to country and pop. My mom was into pop. Well, she is into Motown stuff. But my mom wouldn't listen to Kiss. That was not going to happen. Elvis, yes. So I mean, I knew very little about the Beatles. In fact, I was ignorant in high school, very very ignorant about the Beatles. I mean, I knew there was a guy named Paul McCartney and John Lennon. I really didn't even know they were members of the Beatles. I just heard the names. I guess probably heard songs because there was no video. I had no computer. I never had the albums. We never listened to it. So here I am in high school. I was probably a sophomore, and when let's see, I was almost a junior in 1980 when John Lennon was killed, and it was. I mean, I was like, wow, everybody's really upset today. I mean, I didn't even know, and then I decided that day to get a little bit more educated about it, just so I would know what was, what the deal was, and I did, and today I'll study about stuff that I don't really care for. I just want to know a little bit about it, so I'm a little bit. I at least can have the conversation. I don't have to like something, but I can understand it a little bit more, you know, and go study and gather, see how I feel about a matter, especially if I know I'm going to be asked how I feel about something. If that's going to be a topic of discussion, I feel like then I'll do a little research, so at least I can at least dialogue. Even if I don't care for it, I can dialogue. Um, Watchmen. I hated Kiss when I was a kid. Love Elvis. I listened to Chuck Berry, Elvis, Fast Domino. Yeah, my mom was big. She was a '50s kid, so she was really big into Chuck Berry, Elvis, probably a little bit of Fast. We used to watch the American Bandstand, uh, Soul Train. Mom introduced me to a lot of stuff. Says Game of Thrones is great. One of the few shows worth watching. Watchman says I heard it was degenerate. And I don't know. I'm sure most shows are probably degenerate nowadays, except faith based. Some of them are not good, but there are some good stuff out there. You know. Uh, Spartan says Elvis is one of the few things I can sing. I can do some of his songs very well, and I'm bad at it in general. Which era? I mean, the early stuff or later? You know, movie songs. Before the army, after the army. Um, I used to. Yeah, she really, really loved Elvis. I mean, she was. It was a very hard time for my mom when he died. Oh, the soft songs, nothing fast. Love Me Tender, things like that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, Smooth My Mouth Fast. It covers flogged. She covers the topics, but the show itself is not. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. Uh, Watchman says, let it pop up in the chat. One chat runs a little faster than the other one. In elementary, I won a talent show singing an Elvis song a cappella. It's these kids dressed up like Yes with cardboard. Cool. What song did you sing? Do you remember? I'm sure you remember. I used to love. I mean, because my mom listened to Elvis a lot, so I used to imagine I was in his band when I was, kid, and grabbed the old broom. Best friend caught me one day. And said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Sweeping." Heartbreak Hotel. That's a good song. Good song. you know, I I I find him. It's a very interesting story. His story. It He touched a lot of people in a lot of ways. Whether people like that or not. I mean, um, I think sometimes people misunderstand. I mean, you can really like something that somebody does, and it can be very moving to you, and you're not worshiping it or making an idol out of it. It's funny what people choose to poke fun at and just say, "Oh, I don't listen to that," but they listen to something else or pay attention to something else. That has nothing to do with God. I've heard very condescending remarks that that people poked at. they almost made it a racial issue, that because he was called the king. I never called him the king of rock. I never said that. He's just Elvis, and that people, you have your king, we have ours. It's just ugly stuff. I'm like, what? Where does this stuff come from? I'm not putting down anybody that anybody follows or believes in. I may have a lot of problems with what they believe in, but that's doggone it. That's their right as a human and American. And I just, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to jump on there. I'm not going to jump in there. I hate when people do that. You don't win friends anyway like that. You certainly don't get a chance to have a discussion or a reason in the scriptures or anything if you just blast somebody's deal from the start. You got to build the bridge to somebody and listen to them. Their perceptions are different because they were raised differently. They were pointed in a direction, and it's But I never looked at Elvis as a god or a king or anything like that. That's comments that people put on stuff, and then they try to poke fun at you. Like you're there's something wrong with you. I just like how the guy sang. I think it's an interesting story. I mean, he had faults. Every man has faults. Some have major faults. Some have not as much. He had his own faults. He had a temper. I liked that he took care of his mom. He was close to his mom. I can respect that. I was with my mom, and became a great success. He had, he touched a lot of people. He helped a lot of people. Back in the day. I mean, nowadays, you can imagine on social media. I mean, a lot of the stories people never even really heard about until after he was dead of how he bought gifts for people and did nice things for people. It was, some people say, well, he's probably trying to buy his way into heaven or something. I just think he come from nothing and he wanted to make people happy. He had success. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I wanted a guitar because of Buck Owens, but never got one as a kid. I never got a birthday or Christmas present. Oh, wow. So it took years of saving up allowance of money from cutting grass to buy a guitar now. Yeah, man. He was a king to me as a kid. Well, I mean, it was a sad day. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my mom. My dad was not compassionate at the time with that, and it was just a matter of fact thing with him. And my mom was devastated, and I spent several days just me and her just listening to broadcasts. They did 24/7 for 2 weeks. I think so. All through the night, the local stations, it was all Elvis for 2 weeks. And we spent day. We recorded a lot of that. I wish I knew where those tapes were. Golly, I bet they're gone. But we recorded a lot, and we spent a lot of time together. I was really upset with my dad at that time. Like, that's your wife. You really need to be comforting her. He just was totally distant on that one. And in that it taught me something, because when he died, I was 12. And that was a big moment for me, and I was really upset with my dad that he didn't show compassion, and so I felt like I needed to be there. By that time I had a younger sister. My other sister was not born yet, and so I was the oldest kid, and her son, and I felt like I should be there close to her, and I just didn't do anything except just be with her, as when we were awake, and kind of help her get through that. I mean, I know you never get over stuff like that, but it was just devastating to her. And I was just saying, and I wouldn't have said nothing to my dad. I knew better. He would not like that. But I was disappointed. I was a real quiet kid anyway, very shy, and I just didn't speak on the matter to him. But it resonated with me for a long time, so much so that I think and I've heard people, we kind of talk about it, people joke and stuff. But when other famous people have died, like Dale Earnhardt, I understood that. I understood why that bothered people that had never met him, and I just kind of get that. And for me, it was when Steve Clark died of Def Leppard. I was a big Steve Clark fan. I just remember, I think at that moment I kind of understood how my mom felt just a little bit. You can never know exactly how somebody feels, but I think I understood a little bit more. And my mom was very supportive. She was still living. And I've told that on the Southern Fried soundstage, how she called England through the night just to get through to leave my condolences. And my mom was awesome. And it just made me understand that. It was almost like, you were there for me, I'm here for you. And, I never really lost anybody in the music world before that really impacted me that way, but that one did. It was 1991, and so all those years later, kind of something that we had between us there, and um, she was amazing. Loved music, and a big. My dad had a big sense of humor, but my mom did too, and I used to make my mom laugh a lot. I think when I was a kid, I kind of entertained her. I'd do stuff and it just make her laugh, so I did it more. And happy childhood. I really it was. It was childhood filled with music and sports and love and church and you know oh maybe we camping. We did a lot of camping. My dad had vacations. We'd always camp. That was great. Got to go to the farm. Spent a lot of time on the farm on my dad's sister's place, and so I got a lot of good stuff, and just a lot of small town neighbor helping each other. Like you said, cutting grass. I did a lot of that. I bought a lot of things by cutting grass. Spartan says, I never liked Kiss either. It just seemed like trash from the look of. I love Tupac, Elvis, Queen, DMX, Big Mike, this Southern black rapper. Lots of Polish hip hop as well, Polish rock bands. Interesting. I would say I like them, but I don't like everything. You know, I like some. I know what I like, and I don't like everything. um, there's just some of that. That's no. I mean, when we think about it, they're like a theater group, just loud, because that's kind of what they come from that understanding with their parents, grandparents, I'm sure, of theater and almost like putting over the makeup and all that. It's an image, it's a character, and they become that, and they just did it very loud. But they were, it's over the top sexual. I mean, most rock is, but theirs is poorly written. Bon Scott could write double entendres all day long around them. They just went straight for the smut. I mean, you read the lyrics in some of the songs, it's like, especially Gene Simmons. Read some of Gene Simmons' songs that he wrote and Kiss. Some of the ones that they're not his. You can write it. A kid can write. The thought process would be a smutty kid writing that in about 5 minutes. I mean, he did not put a lot of time in lyrics. I'll say that. Oh, yeah, lots of techno music is strange. Electronic music, the better. Cannibal Corpse, I've heard of them. I never listened to them. Music from Japan, France, I can find huge amounts of stuff. I like your music. That's the thing. If people finding what you like, um, I have not. I have not. If I have, I have forgotten. I don't think that I have. Um, but I do, and I've always said one of the things I greatly respect is that magic that occurs between a person who it's like an artist with an empty canvas. It's nothing but white, and they build they create their art, and it's a picture. The same way with a song, you start with a thought, a single thought. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, a place, a thing. It really doesn't matter. There's something that starts that creative process. And through that, it might take minutes, it might take years. And a song comes out of that a lot of people love and listen to. I find that just incredibly inspiring. And writers, you can name it. I just find that incredibly inspiring. I just love that. And when you have a solo person doing it, it's one thing. But when you have a group doing it, it's even better. and it's the hardest thing because in a group, a song has to go. A song never stays exactly the same. Some songs take radical differences, and you have to be okay with that. And some artists struggle with that because once the other people start changing stuff, and they get offended because that's their creativity. But to make it better, the band says, "Well, we probably need a bridge here. We need to cut this. This line doesn't work for me. I want it faster, slower, heavier." I mean, that's the discussion that happens. Hey, broski, that's the discussion that happens with a song as it goes through its creative process in the studio or whenever they're putting that together. What truly amazes me is how that a group can go in the studio with almost nothing and come out with an album. I don't advise that. I think that would be incredibly difficult. Guitarist needs a lot of riffs. They need a lot of lead solos and stuff they've been working on and trying to find places to use it, modify it. Maybe I got to think you got to go in at least with some ideas. To me, going in to a room and trying to think and just create, there with the expense of that on your back, I'd be like, man, that's too much pressure. I have came up with a lot of ideas, and when I was a kid, I used to actually write these little songs. You know, I would sit. I wrote a lot of songs in my head. I never really wrote them down. I just in my head, I would read. I would just daydream, and there would be things that impacted me, or I'd hear a word or a phrase. So I think I kind of have a little bit of that in me. I just never, pardon me, I just never explored it. I never used that side of that to to create. I wished I had. I'm never too late, I guess. But I have said, and I dreamed a song once, and I wrote the lyrics down. I've got them put up somewhere. I had it in a dream. The whole song came to me in a dream. I woke up. I was just fortunate to have a writing pad there. I wrote the whole thing down, and I even had a melody. It was all came in a dream, and it was, it wasn't anybody else's work. I'd never heard it before. And I always thought, well, I knew a lady that did that with a song. She was given the lyrics in a dream. It was a Christian song. It's a lady I went to church with for years, and there was a group that came through, and they used to come to our church, and I'd had them back. I became like the guy who brings in all the music groups. It was my job at one time. So I'd set up the singing, like a weekend of singing. Had someone there the day. We had a Saturday night singing, Sunday morning, Sunday night. We had three or four groups come in. And this group that was on Sunday morning, they had taken the words at one time. She told them about the song. Well, they took it and they put it to music, recorded it, and put it on one of their albums. It was a big thing for her. She never put the music to it. She just said, "This is the song." It was a really good song, but that came to her in a dream, and she felt like God, gave her the lyrics. And it's kind of interesting. Another group came along, took it, never changed one word, and put the music to it and recorded it. Amazing. I just find that stuff inspiring. Some of your best songs took 5 to 10 minutes. They say that's always the best ones. That quick, just inspiration. You just bang it out. It's like some you'll hear artists sometimes they'll say, and sometimes in an hour they'll say we wrote the lyrics, had the music, and recorded an hour. That's incredibly fast. But you do hear that about some groups, and you're thinking, yeah, people think we really labored over this. We had the idea, put it together, got the music, mapped it out, then and recorded it in one take. And an hour we had this song, became a big hit. To me, that's crazy. But and then yeah, you see that some took years to get all the parts. That's why you have the little sound bites you put on recording. You've got your guy. You got all your little bits. Stored somewhere. You got your books that have your lyric ideas. Thoughts. Hey, hello there, from Twitch, dead guy. Love the name 0009. I'm doing good. How are you doing today? God bless you. But they would take this song, this idea, and then years later it'd be like they would hear something and it would go, hey, I think that would be a good line in that song, and they put it together. So yeah, sometimes it takes years to get all the parts to a song. I'm glad you're doing fine, dead guy, because as a dead guy, that you want to be doing fine. What part of the world you coming from this morning? I'm here in Northwest Georgia this morning. But yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy. I love the name. Oh, it's a blessing to be here tonight. Me and Biscuit Boy, and let's see, we'll have Wolf Nation tonight. Probably Cornbread Nation too. I don't know. That's usually if we can get it all in on Thursday night. We got some plans. Once again, I would. I wish that I did. See something. I wish I did that. My wife used to get on to me like, "What was that? You should record those riffs." I'd be like, "What riff?" Yeah, Yeah, I had a friend. He used to put all of his parts into this online app. He would thousands. He said he had 7,000 little pieces of music that he had put, and he would pull those out from time to time, and he would put songs together in his little studio. He'd do the guitar, the bass, a little bit of drum, but he had these guitar parts, and the app, they decided to go out of business. The problem was is they didn't give anybody any time to download their stuff. So they just shut the app down. So he contacts them. He's like, hey, I've got, thousands of riffs on your app. And they just like, sorry, it's gone. We've ended it. It's done. And he was devastated. He was like, my gosh. I mean, he'll never get all those back. He can't remember them. And he was like, what? I mean, he's like, Dave, all I could do was start over. He said, but lesson learned, I will have him in my studio on something. I may put him on an app, but I'll also have it recorded to something. He said, I loved the app. It was a great app. And while they decided they weren't making any money, I guess. Sometimes apps do that. It's expensive to have an app. If you think it's good, I'll play it over and over to memorize it, and I go on. If it comes back to me, I'll work on it into a song sometimes. Do you still write, Watchman? Do you still do that, or is that something you've sort of put to the side, or you still work on writing songs? Again, that's another part of the magic, too, when somebody comes along and they write a song. And somebody has this lyrical idea, maybe a couple of guys are working on the lyrics, and the guy comes in with a riff, that may be all they have, and then the other instrument players kind of get into it, and then a lead guitarist comes in and lays some solos over, or at least one solo. Magic. I remember when Leopard was in the studio for Pyromania, they were having a real problem with Photograph, if I remember right. And everybody was in the other room, and Steve's in there. He's on a break, and he's just in there. He's just working. They're hearing him hit. And when he hit the riff, they went, "That's it." And he like runs in, "I got it," and it was like this moment. You'll never forget that. And it's like, I finally found it. Anyway, it's got to be frustrating though. It's not working. It's like pressure's on. There's an old. In fact, the same guy showed me this clip. There's an old clip of Metallica in the studio. And the producer, I can't remember his name, was trying to push the lead guitarist. I just totally went blank on his name in Metallica. And he makes him mad, which sometimes can work, not always. But he kind of throws this little condescending remark out about how he's, what was it? Like he's all that. He's the guitar god. I can't remember what he said now. It ticked the guy off. I mean, you could tell it made him mad. And so he's playing, hey, Daryl, he's playing this riff, or he plays this lead part out of anger, and he nails it. But man, that could go the other way too, man. Somebody would want to jack your jaw. I mean, like producers, but watch how far you go. Watchman says, I was writing a song this morning. Just wrote and played a bass line on the track for this guy's song in the UK. Just finished the video for it. I've got a friend that he writes music for. He's in a band, but he writes a lot of music for bands, metal bands in Europe. He lives here. He works with me. He's made decent money doing that. He constantly is coming up. Sometimes it's whole songs. Sometimes it's lines or an idea or a riff or a lead or whatever. But a lot of it's whole songs. And it's guys who have, I guess they're just looking for inspiration. They've run out of ideas. They've got some lyrics. They're looking for something. I guess that's a big thing. And they'll just buy the song from him, all rights. And he makes a little money that way. But he also records his own stuff as well and puts it out. I think he's working on an album right now with his band, and they play. So, I mean, today's world, there's all kind of ways to get, almost like a session guitarist, but you're just putting your work out there, or sometimes he gets asked, can you play something along, and they'll give him an idea of what they're looking for. And then he will play, something and send it to them and say, is this right? And they'll coordinate and collaborate on that idea until they figure it out. Interesting. I said he just finished the video for it. Be interested to see, um, how it turns out. I'm sure you're wondering how it's going to turn out. Then nowadays with that's the way people record anyway. I mean, you can send all the parts to anybody around the world. You can send them all to a producer. Leopard did 2 albums like that, or at least one, maybe 2. You just send all the parts to an engineer. Y'all work on it back and forth. There's side discussions going on. Then there's group discussions, and you just sit and all of them are in different countries, and they actually write the album, put it all together. And the one guy, Ronan for Def Leppard, does it, and he puts all the parts together, and then they all listen to it and make sure it's the way they want it. I wrote a whole album like that. I recorded some guitar tracks for the same song, but he didn't use those too heavy for his vision of the song. Yeah, that's the hard part too, of trying to figure out what are they wanting. What are they looking for? What is what is that? I mean, it's hard to paint a picture sometimes for somebody. You're like, I want this, not that, and it's maybe a little too heavy, but but if you wrote it, then maybe it'll come back to use in something else. I've heard about songs that have been put in the vault, as they say, sat for years, were taken back out, stripped down, rebuilt, became a totally different song, but basically used a lot of, the lyrics might have changed a little bit, but a lot of the lyrics stayed the same. They just rebuilt the song. And the song Animal for Def Leppard was like that. It was almost country sounding at one time. They totally redid it, and I think it was a part of the early or Pyromania time recording. And it sat, and then they worked on it again, and they put it back up for hysteria, and then finally they pulled it back out and redid it with mud, and it turned into a pretty big hit. But that song went through a lot of iterations. Daryl, shaking the cobwebs out of my head. Good morning. Good morning to you, Midnight Rider, new member here at the podcast. We appreciate you, brother. Yeah, last night I was wore out. I was kind of hurting a little bit. My wife, I've been caring for her, and she was a little weaker yesterday, and I was putting a little more strain in. And I come in, I'm thankful my son was there last night. I was so tired, I was sleepy. He asked me a couple of times, Dad, you going to the studio? And I'll be like, maybe, I think I am. And then it was like, I don't think I am. And I thought, well, maybe I will. And I finally just said, I just need to go to bed early and get a lot of rest. And that's what I did. Yeah, that's Daryl. Me and Daryl went to school together, and he's new here. He's a big sports fan. He's a Christian and preacher, and he's got an interesting story. Sometime he'll have to share that story. He said, yeah, he's looking for a sax player now for a new track. I'll write the bass line and record for it. Cool. It's interesting. Think about it. Nowadays, you could be the singer, you write the song, and then you just have these different people come in and help you put that song together, interesting. And I know that artists, and you may have an opinion about that. I'm sure you probably do. But is that any? I get it. They'll say that AI is not the soul. There's been a lot of talk recently from artists, that there's no soul in that. But there are people putting together bits and pieces using AI to craft part of a song they wrote lyrics for, or a lot of the song, to get the music, and they keep working it till they get it. It's kind of the same thing, although it's AI. I get it, but that's not going away. People do that. I do a lot with AI on music side because I don't really write, play, or record, or anything like that. I never want to take away from anything the artists are doing. I support artists. I buy their music, like Suzanne's band. I bought their CD. I always want to support artists, but he used that last track. He used AI David Bowie to sing his lyrics. That's cool. I just find that, to me, that's creative, and to me, what AI does. And I know the dangers of AI. Please, I know the dangers of AI, but I will say that AI helps you get a thought, at least in some form, out. And it may change. It may. I really believe that AI ideas are inspiring probably artists who they'll take something, they'll hear something like, "Ooh, I like that," little riff, and because anything you hear, see, smell, touch, whatever, is inspiring to you at some point. It'll be creative in your life, and I think that that's probably people would use that. You know, I mean, I have done songs with AI, about 100 that I've put out, and they're for me. I don't try to make money on them or anything. It's just stuff that I like to do. And he ended up having Boy in this video for the song. I'd like to see that when it's a video. Just send me a link, man. I'd like to see that. But I just the hypocrisy sometimes, and I get it. It's like, and listen, I understand, but artists have extended the career of bands. I think it was wasn't it Dio that they did the image of, and they played the music with him. My gosh, if they can do that, I can use a little AI to write a song. I mean, come on. I don't argue with people about it, but it allows me to be creative in a way that I can be creative. And it's there, even though, sometimes, I mean, I've used, and I do it lots of different ways. I come up with lyrics. Sometimes I've used AI for lyrics. I give it the idea I'm looking for, then I will rewrite the lyrics because it didn't have it exact, but it gave me a lot of ideas, and I would use that, and then I would take it over and put some music with it, different styles, and see what I like. And sometimes it's a total mess, and I don't care for it. And other times I'm like, hey, I really like that. And yeah, that was weird. I would never go see an Avatar in concert. I don't think I would either. I really don't. I just thought that was strange. They're trying to, I get it, make money, extend the career and all that. But I don't think that I'm going to go watch Def Leppard with Joe Elliott as an image or, an avatar or something. There was we talked about Kiss earlier. There was talk about them doing that. They were creating, they spent a lot of money. I don't know if that project's been shelved, but I heard they spent a lot of money creating the avatars to continue a Kiss concert tour with avatars. That's what I read. Now, whether that's true or not could be bad info, but I thought I could see them doing it because they're the marketing kings. They'll market anything. They don't care. There is no shame in their game. They will. It doesn't matter as long as they can make money off of it. They'd make money off of it. Yeah, Wendy Dio is. There's a lot of people have a lot of opinions that she would be willing to do anything for money. Even while he was alive, she. Could you see Sharon doing that with Ozzy? I wouldn't doubt it. Just say that she's going to milk that the rest of her life. There's a lot of people said she pushed him to go out there. She says it's not true. He wanted to go out there, but he obviously was going out there when he was very sick. And there was a lot of people that were upset about that and saying that was Sharon's influence pushing him out there. But yeah, you agree. She will do it. They'll be the Aussie avatar. I'm telling you, she will do that. It's going to happen. Oh my goodness. Yeah, she's probably working on it right now. She's probably like, we're almost ready. The big tour. We'll get Zach and all these different people that played with him, Rudy Sarzo or somebody will come back, and we'll send them out on the road with the Aussie avatar. I wonder what version of him she would make. Would it be the very young Black Sabbath version of him, the 80s bloated, heavy drinking version, or the later, dark haired, dark clothes wearing guy? I mean, I just wonder what version she would use. That was probably what I'd be more interested in is or maybe she has all three different eras of Ozzy. She does she could do the whole Black Sabbath look and do just Black Sabbath. And then she could do the early 80s where he wasn't bloated. She could do that. Then she could do the bloated tours, where he even says, God, I was fat, and then she could do the later stuff, where he really changed. Yeah, Randy Rhoads. Oh, well, yeah, she could do Randy. Yeah, cut out of Bob Daisley, Lee Kersley. She covers all the eras. She would do that. Broski, I never realized you were such a musical mind, Watchman. We talk a lot of music. He is. I've seen a couple of his videos from his days of his band and his wife singing and playing and good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh my goodness. I love. Um, I used to, that's one of the things I love. I used to go in and pick up those rock magazines just because I love to read all the different um, things that people come up with. The infighting, this, that, and the other, just cracks me up. It really is. The music world is a big soap opera. It really is. People would buy tickets and it would be successful. Dude, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. You're right. I mean, they wouldn't care. It'd be like, Ozzy, he lives. She could do a Vegas residency with the different eras of Ozzy. Maybe I should call her up, give her the idea, see if I can't get a residual or something. She's already on top of that, though. And then you could have like the duet, Ozzy with Dio. They have a duet song, Well, let me ask you this, Daryl. Let me ask you this. If they put out the avatars for the original Leonard Skinner, would you go watch that? Somehow it gets back to her. Hey, this knucklehead in North Georgia came up with a heck of an idea. Let's do it. Deal Ozzy cage match to the death. Oh yeah. Oh man. And NASCAR, you could have all the NASCAR drivers that have died, Dale and Alan Quickly and Davey Allison, all the ones that just died naturally, but you could have them all and have like this virtual race. You go to a 3D thing and it's all like a movie or something, Dale says absolutely not. Oh, oh man, man, we're living in a time, man. People gonna milk it, man. They're looking for money, man. They'll do anything, It's because it's all about the touring. Because albums don't really sell, Sometimes singles will do really well. People do a bunch of downloads for a single. There are some albums done good, but it's starting to come back a little bit, but. Man, it's all about the tour, man. You got to get out there and tour and charge all that money. That's what keeps them in their fine homes and everything. Ozzy did some wrestling with Jesse the Body back in the day. I didn't know that. I can see it now. The Avatar rock group with a whole Avatar audience listening. Complete sellout. People watching from their homes. I'm in seat 79. But it looks like the people that you don't have to travel. We'll just pop it to you. But you're there. That's weird. We're getting into weird stuff. Oh, man. He got so, there was at one time he almost looked like he cloned himself or something. Wow, because he was pretty sick, I like that he did the get together with all the most, not all. There were some guys didn't get invited to that, but he did. There was a lot of them that came, and he was very sick, obviously, and didn't live much longer, and couldn't really stand. He wanted to, but they told him no. He was just a sick guy. But man, that guy lived a lot longer than I thought he would. My gosh. I would love to have a book about his life. The problem is that Sharon would shield it so much that you would never get the true story. Now, I do like Rudy Sarzo's Off the Rails, what that was called, about Randy Rhoads, which shows you a lot of the background of the early days of Ozzy, the crazy stuff. He talks about some of it because he was a witness to it. He was there, and sometimes was the butt of his jokes. But virtual reality concert. You put the thing on, we're there. There I am. It's like I'm sitting in my seat, looking around, waving. If they can clone Biden, they can clone us. Oh man, can you imagine? It's like the old. When we are there, where is the whole idea? Is it live? Is it real? Is it not? Is it staged? Is it? I mean, the masses are ready for fall for all that stuff. So people put out these videos and they're absolutely false. I mean, they're stupid. They're not even good AI. And people put it out online like it's a real event. And there's all these people that fall for it. I'm reading the comments and I'm like, are you stupid or something? That's not even realistic. What you're watching, they're like, oh my gosh, they're getting all fired up, mad, ticked off and ready to fight the world. And it's all fake. And, it's getting, see, Ozzy's last couple of tours, he had this dude just off stage singing in real time. Really? Wow. Ozzy accompanied Captain Lou Albano to manage the British Bulldogs in their tag team match in WrestleMania 2. He wore a peach-colored blazer. I totally missed all that. I guess I'm not never into wrestling, but that's funny. Well, there's a lot of that goes on. There was somebody had a video at one of the concerts. I'm trying to remember the band, and you had the band out front. And yes, there's always been those players off stage. Like if it's a trio, sometimes you had an extra guitar player off stage or a bass player or whatever. But there was a show, and I forget which band it was. And they were up front. They caught it from behind, and behind the curtain, there was a whole nother playing area. And this guy, these players, they had multiple players. And it was it was like there was as many players backstage, so to speak, behind the curtain as there was out front. And they were playing some of the parts that the others couldn't play, or accompanying them or propping them up. That was the accusation, that were they live or were they both live, or who's live? Because, you see multiple guitar players, and it's like, is that guy out there playing that bass or that guitar, is he really live? Or is he just faking it? Or does he even know he's not playing? There's a lot of charges like that from some bands. Like this guy's starting to lose it, but he's, they keep him out front and he don't even know it. But, I don't know. That's weird stuff. I do remember that. For some reason, I remember that. Somebody, I don't know, sent me a picture or something. It seems like I remember that because I remember just hearing about it. So, oh, see, there you go, Daryl, and that's what's that's what's going to be next. It's going to be the Avatar preacher. You're going to go to church, and you're going to sit there, and it's going to, whoa. You can make it be any preacher you want. Pop in, top it in, what you want it to say. Saw the Rolling Stones at Death Valley Stadium. They had a whole nother band behind them playing. They didn't even hide it. Wow. Okay. I think it was, God, I'm trying to remember what it was. I want to say it was Fleetwood Mac. I was disappointed that they had as many off the stage, People do whatever for money, man. Money drives it, though. Yeah, we got this big tour, and we everybody wants the money, and they're willing to sell their soul, so to speak, if that were possible. Hope everybody has a great day. Got to get off here, going to work, and we'll see you tonight, probably around 6-ish, somewhere right in there. And we appreciate everybody stopping by. Have a great day. God bless you all. And I've enjoyed the conversation. They already have had a Johnny Kirk AI avatar giving sermons in churches. Really? Wow. That's crazy. It's a crazy world, isn't it? It's a crazy, crazy world. AI, where in the world is going to happen? and how long before, and I'm sure it's already happening, I got to say this, news media creates news with AI. There'll be some news orgs do that and totally send out false reporting. It's like the guy standing in the ditch. It's like it's flooded, but it's not. It's all a camera angle and stuff. They'll do that with AI even more so. It's going to happen if it's not already happening. All right, I do got to go. Take care. I wish I could do another hour with you. Blessings to you. We'll see you this evening. God bless you all again, and pray for the country. Pray for our soldiers. We'll see you soon. Music.